Welcome everybody to the Dad's Doomsday Guide. Today we are talking about how to survive a carjacking. So very interesting stuff here, but first we have a few little things to talk about. One, I'm going to try my best, and Tim's going to try his best, to film a few more things and post some more podcasts and content more often than we do right now. It's just been kind of a shit show because I've had my third child, as I've mentioned before, and Tim's had his second now 7 months ago, so he has less of an excuse, but it's just really busy, and my life is crumbling before me, so I'm trying to piece this together as best I can, and we're going to try to get more of these episodes out to you guys because I know you've been asking for them. And speaking of which, I want to thank David for the email about something that we've been getting a lot of questions on is how do you survive home defense? How do you survive people attacking your home? What kind of disaster preparedness should you have? What kind of products should you have for a family? How much for your kids? Like a lot of stuff is kind of generic out there, and they'll have full on bunkers or people with their own gardens in their basement. And I mean, maybe some of you guys have that stuff and that's awesome. I'm jealous, but I don't have the time for that. Even if I wanted to do it, it'd be really hard with the space, especially live in urban areas and stuff. So, and a lot of it's just, I don't want to deal with it, I saw this one video where this dude's got a whole planter box and he had filter stuff going in. They were in one of the captions was yeah, you can even do this in the city, do it in your apartment. I'm like, dude, that's where my kids' beds are. I'm not putting a planter box. So we'll try to get you some practical stuff of what you can do. We're working on those guests. So David, thanks for the email. Again, we're getting on that. So we're going to try something called Doomsday News, where we cover the craziest, some of the craziest headlines of the world today. And remember, it is Sunday, so by the time this posts on Tuesday, shit could change. But for right now, let's check out some Doomsday News.
Doom.
All right, number one, Trump has coronavirus. That's everybody should know this by now, and who knows what's happening on Tuesday. This is Sunday, but right now he's in the hospital. They said he's doing better, but who knows? A lot of conspiracy theories going around from people assuming that he's making this up so he can come out and triumph and rise from the ashes like a phoenix, a fat phoenix. So maybe that could be true, and that's going to be awesome for him. But the other side is saying that he was given coronavirus on the debate stage, and he's been purposely somebody's trying to kill him. It's an assassination attempt by the deep state. So yeah, I'm sure those are both very viable theories. Or he just got it, and he should be fine because they're pumping him full of all this crazy experimental shit, because he's the president. And I've seen some, a lot of death threats on Twitter. I don't get that, being around, my dad who just passed away and seeing how horrific that was. And my wife's dead, a couple years back. And anybody who wishes death on someone is, it's questionable. You might need to get your head checked out. And I think what people do, they demonize the enemy. They dehumanize the enemy. It's what's done in wars a lot, and people tend to do that with politics too. And if you can, dehumanize someone and demonize someone enough, like Trump, he's a fascist, he's Hitler, he's the second coming of the devil, of Satan. Then you can kind of say shit like that and feel morally okay about it, I guess. But I would urge you to, if you're coming to that conclusion that he is the devil or Hitler reincarnated, you might want to examine how you got there, because I need a little more evidence. Okay. So yeah, I'm not really into that. So Twitter's been kind of weird lately with that. And then also, this was fun. The Doomsday planes, apparently 30 minutes before Trump announced that he had coronavirus, Doomsday planes were spotted over Washington, D.C. Pretty crazy, right? And also the West Coast. Now, I didn't know these things even existed. I assumed something like this did just because, it makes sense. But apparently these are Boeing E-6B Mercury planes, and they are designed to keep the National Command Authority in contact with naval nuclear forces in the event of crisis. They were initiating the take charge and move out. I have no idea if this is accurate, by the way. I'm just reading this, what I saw online. So yeah, that's why it's called Doomsday News. It could be total horseshit, but I'm pretty sure this happened. Actually, I know it did, but I don't know in what great details these are accurate. So please take this with a grain of salt. Do your own research before you think that the government is flying a nuke plane over your house. They're initiating a protocol essentially dispersing the command and communications facilities needed to control the U.S. nuclear arsenal. These aircraft are activated by the Pentagon when it is deemed necessary to communicate with the U.S. Navy's secretive nuclear missile submarines, stealth bombers, and missile silos. So these were spotted, like I said, 30 minutes before. And the military says it was a coincidence. They were just a test exercise with these things. It just happened to be around when Trump was doing it. But that's some bullshit. They did this on purpose because if you think about it, Trump goes down, say it's really serious, and all of a sudden somebody's trying to attack us or, whatever's going on. These babies are up in the air ready to unleash hell on Mother Russia or whoever else is attacking us. So, yeah. But to me, it's a little jarring. And I know I've heard this from intelligence people that I've spoken to in the past. And I'm not like talking like, I've been talking to someone in the government, but just people who've done work for them and things. Like if you knew like half the stuff that was going on, like things, the information and what was happening in world events, it would really freak you out. And I think this is one example of, how close we are to something like this happening and like having a whole nuke war thing explode over us. And we have no clue. It's just kind of scary, but luckily we live in a powerful country right now that's not, totally abusing us, still protecting us from foreign threats, hopefully. Russia also has a new exoskeleton for soldiers they came out with the other day. That's fascinating. If you guys have seen the Matt Damon movie, what's it called? Elysium? No idea. I forget. But he has like an exoskeleton suit on that makes you stronger, faster, shoots. I saw the one Russia was doing. It wasn't that hot. It was a little... I don't know. He looked kind of clumsy in it, but apparently they're moving faster at this than we are because they're using Syria as a training ground to like test this shit out. Their little war play games area over there, where they can just see how effectively they can kill people. So, it's a little concerning because it starts pointing toward, and so a couple of these, actually one of these other headlines points to this too, is that the technology is advancing, the AI is advancing, that even if we have the Second Amendment, it's like, man, how can you really defend yourself against that kind of technology? Being me, right? You have all these dudes in exoskeleton suits roll up on my house and I'm sitting there with my little shotgun, right? I'm like, hey guys, you can't come in. Meanwhile, they're going to laser bomb my bedroom with amazing accuracy. So, it goes to show you how you got to make sure you have a government that you keep in check and that relatively stays out of your life. My personal opinion, I know. But each side of the political spectrum, ladies and gentlemen, can fall into the lovely pit of authoritarianism. So I think we should probably try to avoid that as best we can. And especially the more powerful the military gets, whoever runs the military runs your life, ultimately, right? So that's another thing. How do you stop funding military? How do you people want to stop funding the U.S. military, saying we're spending too much money? Granted, we might be wasting money on weird programs and crappy tech and who knows what else. But what happens because China's not stopping, Russia's not stopping. They're going to keep advancing technology, and you don't want to have our country behind them because it's a vacuum. You've seen it on a kind of a micro level in some of these cities where the police pulled back or because of riots and stuff. And like people will fill that vacuum. Gangs will fill that vacuum. Other people with guns will fill that vacuum just to control and have power. So unless, if you want to downgrade, someone's going to upgrade. So that's a little concerning too. Hopefully, I feel bad for my kids. I really do. I was reading news for this stuff and I was just like, man, how is this going to turn out? Well, we're screwed. This was fun. An asteroid almost hits Earth that was the size of a truck, and NASA missed it. So thank you, NASA. It flew by, and we weren't even aware of its existence until it was gone. But the only thing is that it wasn't up to the size that people would, or NASA would deem as a huge threat. I forget diameter. It was like 500 and something feet or 400 something feet that NASA would deem like that's like a potential threat to like Earth. Whereas this was, a truck. So good news. It wasn't big enough to kill us all. Oh, AI pilots beat human in clean sweep of virtual F-16 dogfights. Human fails to register a single hit. Again, AI thing. So this, I think this is, I skimmed the article. It was late last night, so I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure this is designed for pilots to gain more trust in AI systems and see how they communicate, work, and, their level of excellence, I guess, or whatever else. And so it just goes to show you that this guy who's trying to fight this AI F-16 lost every single time, failed to even get a hit. The good news was that the human got better at it each time and survived a little bit longer, but hence Terminator. We're screwed. And the world will end, apparently. the Mayan calendar, according to Mayan calendar and Doomsday experts. Now, I'm just before Christmas. I think this is going to happen, 2020. So good. I thought the Mayan calendar was done. I thought that ended in 2000, that we all figured out that it wasn't accurate. But hey, 2020 seems like the year this could come back and be accurate. So that's awesome. Now, moving on to... Oh, sorry. That's your Doomsday news, everybody.
We have been wizened.
So moving on to how to survive a carjacking. Now, there was a video last week that happened in Orange County, Florida. I'm going to pull it up and we can put it up on screen here so you guys can check out what happened to this dude. So he's in front of his house. He goes to, my God, you know what? I don't like what the iPhone has done in terms of how you're on something, and then if I try to scrub through the video, it starts to scrub through all the photos. It drives me effing nuts, man. I could just like smash this thing. All right, so scrubbing through, this guy at his house goes to get in his car with his, I believe that looks like a laptop, if you guys see this here, and two dudes run up on him, pull him out of his car at gunpoint, prone him on the ground. I don't know, he's like slapping him and shit. He's like trying to get the keys. Dude jumps in. Guy finds an opportunity to get away, and they split, and they take his nice, sweet Mercedes-Benz. So this is, I mean, I don't know how many of you saw this, but this is some scary shit. Now, there's a couple different things we want to talk about. So first off, how many carjackings actually happen in this country? It's about 38,000. The stats are pretty old. I don't know why that they don't compile these things a little bit more frequently. I found some stuff on the LA Police Department, and I think they say most local and state criminal codes don't define carjacking. It's reported as either an auto theft or an armed robbery. This means there's no solid statistics exist on time, place, and victims, which is weird to me. I don't know, not a statistician. So, but these, the most recent ones I could see are from 2002. Okay. 93% of carjackers are male. Okay. So if you see males around, get out. Now, that's not shocking because most males commit crimes. Hooray. 93% of carjackings occur in cities and suburbs. Not a shocker. It's where people are, where cars are. Approximately 38,000 carjackings occur each year. All right. So what is there, like 350 million people in the United States and 38,000 carjackings a year? Probably more. I'm sure it's more now, but from 2002. I mean, God, those stats are so old. That's so weird to me. A weapon was used 74% of the 74% of carjacking occurrences. About 15 murders a year are related to carjackings. 63% of carjackers take place within 5 miles of a victim's home. So that's a lot. That shit's happening at your house, like this dude in Florida. Carjackers occur most frequently in metropolitan areas, followed by suburban and rural areas. 45% of carjackers involve firearms, 11% involve knives, 18% involve some other type of weapon. Most of them occur at night. There are some during the day, which I'll mention what happened to me and my family. We've talked about it before in the dad story time, where we almost got carjacked in North Las Vegas. Super scary, happens really fast. And that was broad daylight, so it didn't matter. Obviously, they're going to look for intersections, stop signs, traffic lights, anywhere that your car is stopped. They can attack you on. I've seen some of these, you know, from the LA Police Department was like how you can stop one or try to avoid one, and some of it was like, you know, drive with your car windows up. You know, don't, you know, roll your car windows down, or if you do, like just a little bit. And I'm not going to go that crazy. I'm going to still drive down the road with my windows down if I want to. But, you know, if I'm stop and go, I do that anyway sometimes because you end up eating everybody's exhaust. I roll my windows a little bit. Just be aware. A lot of this stuff is just common sense. You guys be aware of your surroundings. But it really is easy to zone out and relax a little bit. I think that's when a lot of this stuff happens, when you least expect it. There is something called the bump and rob, which I've heard about before. And that's when you're driving, somebody will come up behind you, hit you on purpose, where you think it's an accident. You'll get out. You'll be like, hey, let's exchange information. Give me your insurance. Please. And they will rob your car. The other guy will get out, get in, drive you off with your car. The other guy will get in the car that hit you, and they'll both drive off, and you'll be left standing there looking quite foolish, holding your driver's license and insurance. Ways to get out of that is if you have a weird feeling about that bump and rub, that would be something different. Bump and rob, but maybe drive somewhere else. Drive to a police station. You let the guy know, hey, let's go to the police station around the corner. We can exchange information there. because like a lot of times when you get in a wreck, you're going to be really rattled and you're not going to think clearly. But if you get an odd feeling, trust your gut. My God, I'll put that in bold on this podcast. Trust your gut. If you get a weird feeling about it, don't think it's wrong that, oh, this poor person in the other car, I'm assuming something bad about them. Who cares? It's your life. It's potentially your family, your children's lives if they're in the car. Trust your gut. Err on the side of caution, be suspicious of everybody, but you can be respectful and just go somewhere else. It's not that hard. So be aware of that. I thought that was like something that probably would work more on me or some people I know than just, waiting outside your house. I mean, that feels like hopefully you don't have that happen because that's like this guy in Florida. It sucks and it's really hard to get out of that. But the getting hit, I mean, you can kind of control that situation hopefully a little bit better if you can keep your head about you. So let's get into now what you should do, right, if you're worried about a carjacking and what happened to this poor guy in the good old Florida. So he's going to his car. You put this back up. When he gets in, all right, a lot of cars today have automatic locks, but those automatic locks only lock if you put it in reverse or you put it in drive. A lot of times you'll get in, you'll situate stuff, you'll look at your phone, you'll get your seatbelt on, you do other stuff you'll do once you get in the car. You're just not literally throwing that son of a gun into drive or reverse right when you shut that door. So lock your car. Just lock your car. It'll give you a couple seconds. Even if someone shows up with a gun like this, like what happens if this dude comes up here and he's like, oh, I can't get in the car. It's locked. The dude might come up with the gun, point it through the glass and yell at him to get out of the car. But dude, throw that in reverse. You run them over like pancakes and you're off. And yeah, he might shoot through the glass. It's really scary, but I'm not getting out of the car at that point. If my car door is locked and someone is pointing a gun at me, I'm driving away. Now, the trick is if you're in like traffic and this happens and, a good rule of thumb is like, don't hug the bumper of somebody else that's in front of you. If you're in a car in traffic, give some space so you can like maneuver. I mean, if you're bumper to bumper on a freeway, hopefully no one's carjacking you there anyway, because they're not going anywhere. But if you're on a road, like stop and go at a street light or something, don't get on the rear end of somebody, have room to move. And that's just if there's an emergency situation anyway, and you got to go somewhere. Don't hug. If you can see, I had a driving teacher actually tell me this. If you can see the bottom of the tires of the car in front of you where they're touching the pavement, then that's enough room for most cars to be able to just crank the wheel and turn out and get out of there. So check out those tires hitting the pavement in front of you. So yeah, if you're there, just create space so you can drive away. But unfortunately, this guy did not lock his car. Okay, so he gets pulled out at gunpoint. They want the keys, so he like gives him a few slaps. The dude chucks his keys, and now he's just really in a screwed position. Now, as he walks up here, be aware of your surroundings, right? So maybe check out, if you're in your neighborhood and you're coming out of your house, so I'll do this sometimes because I had my catalytic converter stolen off my car, and they did it in the middle of the night. But sometimes I'll go out there really late now to move my cars at night because I'll forget, and I'll put them in the garage or whatever. And one of the first things I do sometimes is I'll just stop and I'll listen. Like just if you hear anybody in cars, if you see any dome lights that are on in anybody's vehicles because someone has opened the door or stealing something, just be aware. You can listen for a second. You can see if someone's hiding somewhere or if someone sees you come out and they duck behind something. Obviously, if it's nighttime and you live on a dark street, obviously there's a lot of variables there. But if you can just try to give yourself a moment to absorb your surroundings. Again, trust your gut. If you hear voices or you see people moving around, like just walk back inside. There's no reason to do that. Call the police, suspicious people, let them figure it out. It's their job to do that. You don't need to be a hero running people all over the street with a gun or something like that too. So just keep that in mind. But listen for a second. And then when you walk to your car, keep your head on the swivel and look around. Just pay attention. I do this more now, but again, I'm not holding myself up above anybody else in terms of like, I am always aware. I'm not. I'm seriously like zoned out 99% of the time now. I'm tired, stressing about life. Your mind's on other things. And like you get in a car, I'll look at my phone, I'll mess with stuff. I'll make sure I have my COVID mask so no one yells at me at the store. There's a lot of things going on that I'll pay attention to that I won't lock my car, especially my car because it's manual. So mine won't even lock if I throw it in reverse or drive. I have to manually lock the darn thing. So I'm there too. Like you just naturally zone out. You don't want to be on all the time. But I think for the car thing, you can manage it. right? Zone out in your house before you walk outside. Stare at a wall for a few minutes. Go, oh God, my life sucks. And then go, okay, now it's time to walk to my car with a purpose. If you have kids, this is another huge variable that we'll talk about in a second. Get them in the car, maybe lock the door and then get them in the car and then strap them in. Maybe don't if you're concerned about something or something looks suspicious, don't put your kids in the car. And like we do it all the time, man. And you're one kid's in the car, one kid's not in the car, you're strapping them in. If someone comes up at that point, that is bad. That's like the worst situation I can imagine with this whole subject. So just be aware, walk to your car, get in, lock the door. If you see anybody that looks suspicious, if you see anybody milling about, if you see a group of males or dudes you don't recognize in your neighborhood or at the store or whatever, wherever you're at, dude, walk away. Come back another day. Go call the cops. Go get some help from somebody. Like you don't need to put yourself in this situation. It's just a car. It's not worth it. All right. So, all right. So we have number one, be aware, check out your surroundings, pay attention, trust your gut, leave if it feels shady. Number two, get in your car, lock the door. Okay. Number three, sorry, I'm looking down. I'm watching this video like crazy. If you're just listening, you can go head over to YouTube, guys, and we're playing. This is visual now. Okay. I'm trying to do more videos, podcast videos, so you can see my lovely face. All right. All right. I got this baby right here. I'm pointing to a little idol at Disneyland, like back when I was really little, I think when I was 5. And, this could be Tim's actually. We had 2 of them. Really cool. Adventureland. I loved it. Awesome. Tribal. Now they make stuff out of plastic that's like hot pink. They make pirate guns that are hot pink. I understand you don't want to get kids shot with fake guns. I get it. But, who's running around with a musket these days, huh? Not very many people. I think you can still do black tips for a musket, but whatever. Back to this. All right. So he gets prone on the ground and the dude's got a gun. I think one of the first things I noticed was like just how erratic the dude is, right? He's like bouncing around, wants the keys, wants to hurry up. He's got his gun out. I do not recommend you trying to grab the gun. If you're by yourself, look for a moment and run. And this guy does a really good job of that, I thought. He waits, he's looking. But I mean, obviously if the dude wanted to cap him in the back of the head, he's going to shoot him. I mean, he's totally proned out. But at that point, you're just in a really bad spot. So he does a good job. He's looking and he turns. As soon as that other guy leaves to give the other dude the keys, he looks behind him and he bolts. He's gone. That's perfect. And then the dude comes and luckily he didn't shoot at him as he's trying to run away. They just wanted the car, which I think most people do based on those stats. There's like 15 murders out of 38,000. Most people just want your car. They're not going to try to kill you. Even though there was one woman in New Mexico, I think it was. I'd have to look up the article, but she was getting her car in her garage and the dude came in and killed her. So it's horrible, man. It's just like one of those things of someone, if your number's up and someone really wants to hurt you and kill you, there's not much you can do about it. I mean, I don't mean to be like doom and gloom here, but there's just so much you can do. So looking on the brighter side of the situation that someone doesn't want to kill you and they got you laid out on the ground like that, look for your moment and get away, just like he does, okay? Don't try to necessarily fight him. Now, the flip side of this part is if you have your kid or kids in that car, that's a problem. Now, personally speaking, for my point of view, is if my kid's in that car, I'm begging, and I haven't locked the door. All right. Every other thing you've done up to this point has failed. And you're in this situation like this guy is. They have you outside the car or the door's open. They have a gun at your head or a knife or whatever else. And they're telling you, if you don't get out, I'm going to kill you. Hey, I'm going to beg, get my kids out. Like, hey guys, please, my kids are in the car. Whatever else you want to say. If you want your kids. Now, if you don't want your kids and you're kind of over it and you're like, hey, this is the greatest way to get out of this. Sorry, I was sipping my tea. Then, hey, be like, don't worry. Yeah, you guys can have them for a little bit. Just give me a call when you're done, right? Or maybe not call me at all. But on a serious note, that car is not leaving. I have to be dead. That's the only way that car is leaving is if I'm dead. So I'm going to beg. Now, in terms of attacking a gunman, never recommend that unless you have no other option. Just like we talked about with Sergeant Harry Drucker with how to survive a hostage situation and how to survive a mass shooting. You're going to wait for a moment where you think you can get to him. And now you can just, if you watch this in full speed, it's just the dude's bouncing around. Like, just imagine trying to close a distance on someone holding a gun at your face, right? The fear and everything else involved in that. I think it's going to be easier if you have kids in the car or, someone else in the car who can't get out on their own. You're going to have that rage and that anger. Like I think I would, that you're going to protect someone versus, you just by yourself and like fearing for your life. I think it's like the weird fight or flight response in your body for whatever reason. When you have to protect someone, you're going to be much more aggressive when someone else is getting hurt that you love versus someone coming after you for whatever reason. At least I'm that way. I don't know psychologically what that would be. That would be categorized as, but as soon as that guy is breaking eye line right there, you can see he's got to give his keys to his buddy, and the dude's already watching him on the ground. He's doing a good job. Say if my kids are in that car, that's when I'm attacking them, right? As soon as that eye line breaks, I'm going hell bent, full speed, knuckles and elbows, and oh man, I'm going to destroy that dude as much as I can. The thing is with guns is it's tricky is people have this weird, not everybody, but, I've done a little bit, and Tim and I have done a little bit like gun disarms, knife disarms, which, there's some really probably badass special forces dudes who, they can take long rifles away from people and stuff when you get in close. It's just a mess though, when you talk about firearms and training, and if you've shot one before and like you talk about different tactical things you do, it's the worst of the worst situation to be in a wrestling match with a gun. But if you're in that, you got to control the weapon, right? The hands kill you. They preached us to that every day when we were going through police training and stuff. One, just in a fight, you always watch people's hands. That's what's going to either punch you, kick you, unless you're fighting a Muay Thai champion, then you're totally effed because their elbows are flying at you and everything else. But I mean, hands are going to kill you, right? They're going to be holding the knives. They're going to be holding the guns. And you need to understand that you can't get in just like a tugging, pulling match with a gun. You can't grab onto that thing and then just pull it back and forth like it's a two-handled saw and you guys are going back and forth. You got to be hitting them, striking them. If you've ever held a cup or like your phone and you ever bump your hand into something or whack your arm, you drop the object a lot. It's one of those reflexes where if you smack something hard enough, the grip loosens. Like if you have someone hold onto your wrist as tight as they can, and then you give them a good slap or punch in the arm or whatever on their forearm, a lot of times their hands are going to let go or it'll weaken for a second. It's just a weird response. So when you grab that gun, man, you're punching, you're kicking, you're biting, whatever else you can do. And I think the closer you can get to them, the better. The distance is what's going to kill you. And if you can somehow close that and get close enough. Now this is not, I'm not condoning, right, fighting people with guns, like you run away. But I'm saying if my family's in that car, this is what I'm doing. And you try to hold it and then smash their face in. And you have to hit them as hard as you possibly can, like Sergeant Harry Drucker said in those other scenarios. And you have to be just move with a speed and a quickness and an explosiveness. You just cannot hesitate. And the problem is you're gonna hesitate because, dude, the dude's hopping around with a gun, and literally he could blow your head off. And the dude, he's constantly looking back. I mean, he doesn't just look away and not he knows he's trying to get away from him. When you watch that video, he's trying to crawl away. So he's just like, let's get out of here. So, oh, man, it's just rough. And it's just rough. And that's why it highlights the importance of being aware of your surroundings, locking your doors, driving over them, doing everything you possibly can to avoid this situation right here. Because if they won't let you get your kids out of the car, whoever else, then they're going to drive away. That's tough. Now, it'd be a little bit easier if there was one gunman, right? And he had to get in the car and break eye contact with you, because then you could go after him again. But when there's two like this and one guy's going to be trained on you the whole time, and that dude's not even getting in the car. He's just the gunman to freak him out, and he's going to go run down the road and probably pick him up. So that's tough. That is tough. And it's very scary. But like I said, the guy did a good job. He turned around. He kept his eyes on him. When can I get away? When can I get away? And then he's going to run. And then I know it doesn't seem like that, like in movies and stuff, but it's really hard to shoot a moving target. So when you're running and ducking and moving, it's tough to shoot you, despite what people might show you on the TV and Westerns, when people are hitting each other with bullets from far away and shit. Now, if someone's gun training all the time and training and shooting moving targets, that's different. They probably can do it a little bit better, but that's not probably what these guys do, these criminales. So you don't have to necessarily worry about that. Movement is key. Even if you had a gun. So if you had a gun, right, and your kids are in the car or whatever, or you're in the car, 1 foot, one out, and you have a concealed weapon or something and you have it, then you have to make a determination for yourself whether or not your car is worth a shootout. For me, it's not. The only thing I'd be concerned about here and potentially want to use a firearm against them, right, if they're trying to get you out of the car, is if you think they're going to kill you, But that's just, personally, I'd probably just, if they had their doors open, I'm not going to draw a gun and have a shootout with them. I'm going to be like, hey, just take the car, take my keys, take my wallet, take whatever else you want. Just, don't shoot me, please. And it stinks because at that point you're at their mercy and whatever this psychopath decides to do, if he wants to shoot you, if he wants to just take the keys, take the car, it's rough, man. So in totality, it's just a really bad spot to be in. The thing that happened with us, if you hadn't heard that Dad's Storytime episode, is that we were in North Las Vegas. My brother and I came out before my parents did to put the groceries in the trunk of the car that we had. It was a rental car. We were on vacation, North Las Vegas, not a good area at all. And I had my head stuffed in the trunk getting out chips and fruit punch, tropical fruit punch. It was delicious, and I really wanted some. And we did everything wrong. We weren't aware of our surroundings. We didn't check the area. I had my head stuffed in the car. We didn't get in and lock the doors. None of that stuff mattered. And all of a sudden I hear this dude say, hey, what kind of cologne are you wearing? And I back up and I look, and this dude's coming up on me really fast. And long story short, I backpedaled. My brother pulled out his knife. It was a whole standoff. I had tunnel vision like you would not believe. Like I was staring through a toilet paper roll at this dude. Like I could not see anything else. It's amazing what your body does when it hits that adrenaline. Be aware of that too. It just goes back to this one threat in front of you, and everything else I was oblivious to. But as I was backed up, I realized that my dad had appeared out of the side of my peripheral vision, and he had pulled his gun out and put it behind his back. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I didn't know at the time, but the guy kept reaching behind his back to his waistband. He had a gun in his waistband behind his back, and he kept trying to get it out, but I kept backing up, and I said, let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. I knew enough then, this is back when I was 18, that, he's trying to pull something out. And I kind of had the feeling about a gun because I don't know why he was going for his waistband like that. Freaked me out. I was so scared. We had a standoff with him. Another guy ends up popping out from behind cars, his buddy, which is why the tunnel vision was so horrible, because he could have come up on the side of me and put a gun and a bullet in my head, and I would have had no idea he was there. My dad has a standoff. We kind of do this weird rotation around the car as the other guys tell him, hey, just leave it alone, let him go. We get in the car and get the hell out of there, go tell a cop. But it was super scary. And if my dad wasn't there with his gun, that's a situation where I don't know how we would have gotten out of that. Without just running away from the car and leaving the trunk open and everything else and letting him just rummage through it. Because there was no way to get out. We were in a weird area, no vehicle, and we were stuck outside of it with it kind of unlocked. It was like, man, it was bad. And the guy would have gotten me, which is crazy. Little does he know, wherever he is now, maybe listening to this podcast, he would have totally gotten me if he didn't say anything to me. I was so focused on what was in the trunk that he could have walked up on me, put a gun to the side of my head and said, hey, give me the keys or whatever else. I would have had no clue whatsoever. And then at that point, man, my dad walked up and saw that with his gun. I have no idea what would have happened. Probably would have blown his brains all over the side of the car. But that's another story. So in recapping, be aware of your surroundings, park in well-lit areas, walk to your car with a purpose. Don't diddle-daddle like we did, getting chips and fruit punch out of the trunk of a car. You can drive with somebody. I mean, there's everything that you can do to keep yourself safe. Park in safe areas. Don't leave a bunch of valuable stuff strewn out all over your car, like Amazon boxes. I did that one time. My car smashed open. But don't leave your phone out, your wallet out, a laptop out. Things that people could walk by and go, ooh, look at that little goodie bag. I'm going to wait for him to come back and then rob his ass and take his car. Obviously, drive a nice car raises the likelihood someone might try to carjack you, And also you've seen when people are like driving down the side of the freeway and stuff, and like these guys who are getting chased by the cops, they'll try to carjack you. I saw a crazy one the other day. This dude was hanging out of like a white van or something, I think it was. And the guy was trying to get in. He like drove and he was like holding on. It was nuts. Just drive, roll up your windows and drive. Don't stop for those guys. If you're in traffic, that's another problem. Then you're kind of at the whim. Just keep the windows locked up. And if they have a gun out, try to drive away. It's just a bad situation, guys. Trying to avoid it as best you can. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, email podcast@dadsdoomsdayguide.com, podcast@dadsdoomsdayguide.com. Let us know any kind of subjects you want to cover, from the trivial to the crazy, and we'll get to it. Remember, everybody, stay sexy, stay safe. Okay. Subscribe.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
You've been listening to the Dad's Doomsday Guide.
So enlightening. I loved it.
Get more episodes and videos at themadmachinist.com.
Superb.
Oh, hell yeah!